my little headcanon is they walk into the wardrobe and the TARDIS is like, here you go, babes. Here's your costumes for today. Because even
Why
like...
is the TARDIS so camp? Put this on. Slay.
Slay. Yes, queen. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Says Who podcast with Kat and Tit.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good, thank you, actually. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you.
Good.
I'm quite tired.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna see how this goes.
Yeah. After turning up an hour late.
Yeah, I was very late. I had a very long day yesterday. Overslept. Watched this episode at about 1:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah, we're here about 10 hours later.
Yeah.
I'm slightly delirious, but you know,
It's fine.
it'll be fine.
That's what the weekends are for.
Yeah. I really enjoy when you go, yeah, you can lead this bit. Like, great, cool. So the reason we're recording today is because someone's got a bloody full schedule for the week.
Well, what can I say?
So
I'm a busy gal.
as a result, I've only seen this once, and it was at 1:30 in the morning.
To be fair, I've only seen it twice, but I do have some pretty strong thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we'll obviously get into it.
Mhm.
I'm not sure
Oh,
how I feel about this one.
I'm also not sure as well, and I was hoping I have points that I want to discuss with you on, and I was hoping I'd find where I feel about it through discussing it with you.
You might.
Thank you.
I can't. I'm not gonna guarantee anything. I'm not. You know.
No, I know it's hopeful.
So I'm kind of a little bit wishy-washy on this.
Okay.
And you were saying
I'm
the general consensus is like pretty strong feelings.
Yeah, very happy
one way
with
or the
it.
other.
Yeah.
But yeah, good week.
Yeah, I found that it was very different. The thing that's not necessarily saved the episode, but cut a lot of my...
Sorry, what? I asked you how your week was. Yeah, the thing I found that saved the episode. What?
No, because I'd seen it twice, and you said you'd only seen it once, and I
Right.
said yeah, and I was going to say the thing that saved the episode from my negative comments was watching it live
Was your
broadcast on
second
the
watch.
TV. Yeah.
It's interesting because I mean, I said when I came in, I feel like this is one I really would have benefited
From a second
from a second watch on
Or a third.
before.
To be fair, this is the one that I haven't watched at least like 7 times, if not more, like the other ones.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, from watching it in the morning on my phone whilst simultaneously halfway through getting picked up for work, and then Sasha strapping me into the car like a child and getting me to work on time whilst I'm still watching Doctor Who in the front seat. That was a very different experience to watching it live broadcast on the big screen.
Yeah,
So I had some negatives off of watching it in the morning, and then I thought about it, info dumped everyone at work about it for a good 45 minutes, and then came home, watched live broadcast, and then pretty much everything changed.
Okay.
Bar one or two things I feel very strongly about.
Do you think that was because you weren't able to give it your full attention?
No. It's because a lot of what I watched on my small iPhone screen I missed, but when it was on the big screen,
Right.
It worked and got me, and then I was just like, oh, that's so annoying. But I also can't transport my TV into Sasha's car in the morning.
No.
And get there to work on time.
Unfortunately not.
So...
Well, we've not really spoken about this. How do you feel about the 8 a.m.
You know
drops?
what? So I enjoyed the process of getting home from work on a Friday, having a nap, making my dinner, waking up, making my dinner, getting my snacks together, getting the troops rallied, and sitting in the dark, in my duvet, with my snacks, watching Doctor Who at 12 a.m, then talking about it till about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then getting a couple of hours before going to work. I really enjoyed that. Wasn't healthy. Absolutely loved it though. However, now waking up at because I'd wake up at that time anyway to get to work. So I just wake up, get ready for work, plonk my bum down, and watch Doctor Who. And I like that. It makes me feel, because when I was a child, I used to sit and put Doctor Who DVD on before school, and I used to sit
Right.
and I used to get dressed and watch Doctor Who?
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who before school, and then I'd go after school. So it feels like that, like I'm getting
So
my
it's a
day
bit
ready.
of nostalgia of like
Yeah.
your routine.
Yeah, and especially with it being Russell again.
Yeah.
It feels crazy to me. But yeah, so I do like getting up, having my breakfast, watching Doctor Who, and then going to work. And then it's finished before I get to work, so then I can get to work, settle down, do whatever I need to do, and then I can sit and talk about it with everyone, and then see what everyone else is thinking, and it feels like there's more people watching at 8 a.m. actually than midnight, so there's way more to discuss and read people's views on and things like that, and then get home, cook my dinner, and get ready to watch it again for live broadcast. So it's quite a nice little Saturday I've got going on now.
Okay.
So I don't mind it. I thought I was going to hate it to start off with, because I was like, really, 8 a.m? But I like my little night owl midnight, if you will. Yeah, if you pardon the pun. How do you feel about it?
I hate it.
Okay.
I genuinely...
Because you have to block my Twitter for the day. That's
what
it is.
Because the thing, there's a few reasons. Like, I didn't mind the midnight release. I completely understand why people don't like it. You know, and it means everybody's kind of like, some people are watching it at that time. Some people are waiting
watching it in the morning anyway.
Some people are, for me and my schedule, similarly, I'm like a bit of a night owl, not a morning person at all. Hence me being an hour late today. But yeah, like, because I work sort of later. Generally do work weekends, so I'd be getting in at like 11, half 11. Have a cup of tea, have something to eat, and then watch it as it came out. Go to bed, still have a full 8 hours, because I'd be back up for like 10 o'clock or whatever. Whereas now, having to not be
social.
I'm having to avoid spoilers and stuff. And so far, I've managed to do it for these first 3. But I don't know. It's just like when I'm on my break, and I'll just kind of absent-mindedly
doom scroll,
open Twitter.
And
then the little logo will come up, and I'll go, no. I don't know. There's also something. It doesn't feel right to me watching Doctor Who in daylight. Like, there's something really, especially this episode. I couldn't have watched this episode in the morning. This feels like an episode designed to be watched
in the evening,
at night, with all the lights off. To be fair, probably at the time I watched it at like early hours of the morning, just in complete darkness. Like, I think that kind of added something to it.
I'm gonna try that tonight.
Yeah, see if you get a different effect. Because then you'll have watched it at 8 a.m. The live TV broadcast, sort of mid-evening. So
it wasn't bright, but it wasn't
but it was like
dark at like midnight.
It's the time Doctor Who should be on, isn't it?
What?
Like 7 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
Like that's where
I thought because you said that straight after I said midnight, I was like, no.
Oh no. But I'm just saying, if they're gonna do the whole streaming thing of
and it makes me sad because I really loved the cinema release at midnight. I hope they do that again.
No, it'd be cool if they did another midnight cinema thing.
Yeah.
Shall we get into it?
Let's.
Where would you like to start?
I want to know your thoughts. Okay, no. First question.
Brilliant.
Sorry. How did you feel about it being a midnight sequel?
I mean, it wasn't a particularly well-kept secret, was it?
Well, it would have been.
Well, yeah, okay, that's not fair. It was a well-kept secret until somebody leaked it.
Yeah.
But it would have been so interesting to have gone in blind and not known that.
And watch that reveal. I think the reveal was good anyway. Knowing that it was a possibility that it was a midnight.
Yeah, everybody kind of knew that's what it was going to be. So, which I wouldn't say it spoiled it.
I don't think it spoiled it.
But I don't think I got the full effect of the...
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah.
But also on the other foot, there's a possibility I might have spent the rest of the episode from that point going, oh God, no, why are you doing that? And not
Yeah, and
really
not really,
concentrating on.
especially because you only watched it once as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That would, yeah.
But yeah, it didn't bother me as much as I thought it would.
Okay.
I think it was basically, I mean, in the first episode we did, I know I was saying about I could probably compartmentalize,
Mm-hmm.
just
Do an
enjoy it
Empire
as a
Death.
story,
Yeah,
even
Primus
if I don't like
situation,
it
yeah.
necessarily being connected. I didn't mind it being connected. I thought it was different enough.
Yep.
I get the impression it was originally a solo script by Sharma Rachel Wolfall, and at some point during the process, somebody went, "This is kind of a bit like Midnight, isn't it? That story." And then Russell came in. They did a co-write,
Mm-hmm.
and tied it to that story.
Okay. Well, based off of what you just said, so the clip I saw from Unleashed
Mm-hmm.
is kind of like that, as they were co-writing it anyway.
Oh, okay.
As they were writing it, as though it was developing, Russell went, this kind of feels like Midnight.
Right.
And he was like, and the script was shouting at me saying it needed and deserved to be a Midnight sequel. So then it became a Midnight sequel.
Right.
And then they developed using that. Because as I was watching, I was flip-flopping and I was like, I'm getting a bit of tonal whiplash. I'm getting a bit, like, it's a bit, like, there was something, as I was watching it, there was something in my body where I was getting pulled to and from two, and I was like, is it just two different voices? And I can really feel that it's being co-written. Like, this is happening, but then that doesn't quite fit with this and this and this. Then I saw that clip and I was like, oh, that makes sense. It was actually supposed to be one thing, developed, had an inkling of Midnight, so then Midnight was reintroduced into it. So there are two kind of conflicting things happening, and that settled me internally. And I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense why I felt like that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not that I'm okay with it, but I was just like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel that was the essence I got as well when I first watched it.
Because I don't know how I feel about Sharma Rachel Wolfall as a writer. Based off of that, I've not seen anything else that she's done.
I haven't. No, neither have I.
But I feel like I didn't get a grasp of her sort of voice as a writer because I was watching this and it felt like it just had Russell's fingerprints all over it.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
It felt very, very Russell, and I don't know if that's her just channeling her own memories of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And is just a similar writer to Russell's kind of
possibly.
style and that sort of tone.
I mean,
or if he was more hands-on with it than her.
She did an interview, and when I read what she had said that she was writing it and then going to Russell and he was giving her edits and they were like co-writing that way. So again, I don't know how much was her, how much was Russell's influence.
Yeah.
I don't know if, because, but also I sort of can.
And I know that Russell, like,
I was going to say, he edits all of them anyway,
you know, all of
he?
that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like I didn't really get a sense of what she can do or what she had done here.
But in the same breath, I did. One side of my brain is as an episode. I thought it was very good. So I'm very happy with like what they both wrote, and I'm very happy on it. And then I've got the other side that's kind of like, but how does it, like, analysing how it relates to Midnight. But from a episode, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really strong episode. I really liked the setup. The second act I have thoughts about, and then the resolution I really, really enjoyed. I thought it was a really, really good and clever way to wrap up the ending. So
yeah,
Should we get into the episode?
Well, we did start this with you asking what my thoughts were, and you immediately interrupted me. So I thought I'd just quickly answer the question.
I'm so sorry. So many things have happened since then. Sorry. How did you feel?
On the whole, I thought it was good.
Yeah.
there are a lot of elements in there that I thought were incredible. Like a lot of standout scenes or performances or, just little concepts or whatever.
We'll get into those further.
And there's so much in there that I was like, yes.
Yeah.
For me, and again, take this with a grain of salt because I've only watched it the once, and I do feel like I need a couple more rewatches to sort of consolidate some thoughts.
Okay.
But it didn't sort of tie together properly.
The episode or the 2 episodes?
No, the episode itself.
Okay.
The individual pieces.
Yeah.
There's stuff in there that I really, really liked. There's a couple of elements that I'm not too hot on, but I just feel like as a cohesive story, as one thing, I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And that's away from the concept
sequel.
of it being a Midnight sequel.
See, I thought it was quite clever, the story. There's the only thing I really have an issue with is the throwing sequence. You know,
right.
when
where it actually starts attacking.
Yeah, when Cassio starts that whole situation. That's the only scene that took me out of it, because I really liked at the beginning when they first go onto the mining base or whatever. What are we going to call it? Is it a mining base?
Yeah, it's a
mining base. Yeah. When they get in it and they see all the dead bodies on the floor, and when Belinda runs over to the first body, and this is one of my favourite bits, the makeup artistry on the bodies, the semi-decomposing body just lying there, and the detail on that.
Which is quite, because I watching it last night, I was like, okay, they're showing some stuff.
Well, this is my reason. When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, we've got a dark episode, let's go, because you literally have a semi-decomposing body and you've got quite graphic with it visually. I was like, okay, we're in for a treat here. So that was already set up. So when we got to where it was throwing people, I was like, I'd rather, I think, now I haven't thought too much into how I would do it, so I'm going to moan about it and not give you an offer any kind of result of how I would do it.
Best kind of script editor, I feel.
Yeah, I know. I needed another watch. Maybe I'll come back and give you how I would do it next week. But anyway, I would have liked to have seen, as I referenced before, how like mostly every bone in their body's broken, blah blah blah. I assume it's from like throwing and things like that, and from the Midnight Entity. So I would have rather have broken up that sequence with some being thrown, because there was like 4 people being thrown, I think.
Yeah, there were like 4 or 5.
And when you've got that amount of people being thrown about and killed, you can't just
have
be
a bit of variety in it.
Yeah, it needs to have some sort of variety. So 2 of them being thrown up in the air and thrown against a wall, I'm fine with that. But then I would have liked to have seen its range of maybe like just completely breaking someone's body down, and all you see is someone literally snapping in half. And do you know what I mean? Like just some variety there of different ways that it can do that.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it was not bland, not uninspired, because they're very harsh words, but you could have pushed the boat out a bit more and been a bit more creative on how you would direct that scene. It took me out of it a little bit. And the second thing was that really took me out. I didn't quite like it. I understand how quite a lot of people really did. I found it just a little bit cheesy. I can't remember the exact dialogue, but it was like, think of a clock face, you die at midnight or something like that.
Yeah.
That I felt a bit cheesy. And then after all the deaths, there's a shot where literally all of the bodies have landed at midnight 1, 2, 3. And I'm like, but how we saw them being thrown and where they landed, that doesn't make sense for their bodies to be laid there. So I was just like, that was just a bit, not a gimmicky shot, but like a midnight clock face shot. That sequence, everything leading up to it had been so like real and believable and like close to a reality, shall we say, in the universe. So that shot, how it was directed and how it finished visually, I just felt like that needed some development. like, I don't mind how it was written necessarily, but like visually I wanted to see more. And again, that could be they had to go dark at the beginning with like the makeup and stuff because they probably maybe weren't allowed to do such graphic stuff.
I was going to say, I think
they were probably limited on.
The only thing I'd say about it, it'd be sick to see the Entity snapping somebody in half. It's going out at 7 o'clock. Like,
that I understand. So like
something like the Stranger Things.
With all the blood.
Yeah, where they like levitate and the blood's coming from their eyes and all the
exactly. That's what I want. I wanted you could actually see like bones breaking, like things like.
You wouldn't be able to do that.
No.
For What's a Family Show? I think they pushed probably as far as they could.
I agree. When obviously I had thought about that and was like, I understand that there were definitely reasons why they couldn't have been that graphic at 7 p.m. on a Saturday family show. I understand that. But then also in the same breath, if you know that, do you then go back and revise the script and think, okay, I can't do what I want to do? Again, compromises definitely happened. But then if you know that you're not going to be able to reach its full potential, do you write something else?
Yeah.
You know, so that was the only thing that fully took me out.
I mean, the other option is just in the way you shoot it. I mean, and imply it and
because in the first Midnight, it was just choppy edits, wasn't it?
Yeah,
choppy
that's
edits,
what I mean.
Fast paced, things like that.
And I think that scene, there was a chaos in the performance, in the score, in the stunt work.
Yeah,
I feel like it didn't, and actually that's maybe not fair. That implies that the direction and the camera work didn't add to that. But
that's the thing. I feel like it was very heavily reliant on that. If you took that away and it was just like as if you watched it without all of the effects, it would have been flat.
I think you probably could have done something a bit more to kind of ramp up the chaos. And I think part of that could be, you know, if you're not quite seeing what's happening.
Yeah, well,
especially because that ties into the whole thing
of not being able to see it.
You're getting tiny glimpses, shadows and silhouettes.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and then if you've just got reactions and
lots
of turn-in, close-ups.
It needed to be bam, 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 and it wasn't. And I think it would have worked if that was their alternative to what we got, maybe. But also, I've done stunt stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had to giggle. It did make me giggle. There's one shot, I think it was just after the second death or just before the second death, it was around there, where the camera cuts to Cassio and he just does this like roll to get to like the next space on the clock.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? That was so unnecessary. He stood there and then he just rolls and he's at the and I understand finding a creative way to get from A to B. You learn it in theatre school, but I was just like, oh no. That took me out of it, and then it wasn't quite there for me. It needed maybe some more work and time spent on that sequence.
Yeah. It also I liked the chaos of it and I liked how fast it was.
Yeah.
But paradoxically, it felt a bit like, oh, that's over now. And I know that plays into the, oh my god, like,
yeah.
But it felt like quite a short sequence.
Well, this is what I'm saying. For the chaos it was trying to give off, I feel like, because they were relying on, as you said, editing, camera work, music, things like that. The direction wasn't quite there. So if you took all of that away, I'm going to say stagnant. I don't mean it as harsh as that, but it was...
Bit more static.
It was very, like...
Not as dynamic as
it could have been more dynamic. So let's just say it was just falling a bit flat for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took all that away, it would have been a very flat scene, which is fine. You can rely on your editing, but it would have been a flat scene. And then it's supposed to be fast, but it also simultaneously felt slow. So I feel like it just needed a bit of work. It didn't feel as chaotic as I wanted it to, if that's what was going on. But I liked Shia telling Alice to move around so that
and
Cassio
kind of
was
killing Cassio.
killed, but to stop him
Yeah.
killing, because he would have killed everyone.
Yeah,
Everyone would have been dead. So I
that was a
liked
good
that. It was
moment.
a good moment to finish the sequence.
Mhm.
It wasn't quite there for me.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as kinetic
Yeah.
as I think it could
Yeah.
have been. I think it needed more
It
movement.
just needed
And
more.
maybe, you know, maybe it would have been too disorientating and you wouldn't have been able to get a grasp on what was happening. But I feel like
Yeah,
with
but
the nature of that scene, that
it doesn't matter because we got that multiple times in the first Midnight. It was just through dialogue and hard
Mhm.
cuts. So this is just the physical development of that. So I would have
Yeah.
preferred that, and it would have mirrored and maybe connected to Midnight a little bit better as well if you kind of followed that kind of same style. But I'm also happy that they went with more physical things, and
Yeah.
it was a development upon not using voices and things like that, and it
Mhm.
developed into more physical means.
Because obviously you hear Midnight sequel, you kind of assume that it's going to be doing the same.
I knew it wasn't going to be the same because that would have ruined it. If it was the same kind of thing, I was hoping for it not to be, and it
Mhm.
wasn't, so that delivered for me, and I was happy with
absolutely. That it was definitely the right choice.
Absolutely. The only issue I took with it being a Midnight sequel, it felt like we were missing the A to B and we were watching the C, which is fine because that's how it was written. The
Right.
Doctor came in halfway through a situation, and I'm fine with that. I thought it was really exciting, good way to write it. That's fine. The issue I have is the story might have been in that A to B where it first climbed out of the well. The episode was great, but I feel like it needed to be a two-parter. I felt like part one is your Doctor Light setup, even if it was just day one, and then we do a time jump to 15 days later. I would have liked to have seen that development of why the Midnight Entity is responding and acting the way that it is. Just maybe want to see that journey on how it picked up on using these crew members, and then part two have the episode exactly how it is, but it might ground and contextualize a few things that maybe made me wonder, oh, okay, so I wonder what led it to respond in this way.
I'm going to do a U here.
And you're going to go, no.
No.
No? Do you not think?
No. I don't hate the idea of it being a two-parter.
I wouldn't want a two-parter of that episode, though.
But I think you could really build
the paranoia and suspense and things like that.
Because something like the original Midnight wouldn't be sustainable as a two-parter.
Absolutely not.
It's very much like a bottle episode, one and done.
Yeah.
You get everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whereas this, I feel like you could really build on the sort of exploration and the paranoia, a little bit like Impossible Planet Satan Pit.
Yeah.
And you've got some things happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it'd be too trite to have the cliffhanger be the reveal that it was Midnight.
No,
I think
that
that's
would have been,
too on the nose. But
I wouldn't have liked that.
To do maybe flesh out the troopers as characters a bit more, because I thought for Doctor Who military grunt supporting characters, they were all fairly well characterized, I think.
Yes and no.
Okay, we'll touch on that. We'll touch
on that. We'll
I'm just going to finish this thought because I know it'll go.
Fly. All right.
I think the strength of the episode kind of hinges on that reveal of it being the Midnight Creature and stuff.
Yeah.
I think you lose the impact of that if you've seen what's been going on before the Doctor sees what's going on and kind of puts two and two together. And I know you wouldn't necessarily have to be episode... like, we're on planet which was formerly called Midnight.
No, in part one, I wouldn't even have any kind of mention of Midnight at all, and just have it be purely this entity on the camp.
I think that the tension of that reveal of oh God, and then it's only after that you start seeing it do things. I think if you've already seen it doing its thing and, you know, snapping necks and cashing checks and all of that, like...
Well, again, then...
I don't think there's...
In the same breath, after the reveal is when that clock face snapping necks, breaking checks. Is that what you just said?
Snapping necks, cashing checks.
Cashing checks. Breaking necks, cashing everything.
That was a good bit that you just did there. That was a really good bit.
Thank you.
It was a good joke.
Shut up. I don't know what you're saying. Stop looking at me.
I think I've passed on my delirium to you.
I just forgot what you'd said. What?
Sorry, I thought I saw something.
Don't.
I thought I saw something behind you.
No, you didn't. You'd be paranoid all day.
Paranoia?
Yeah,
what?
No, but in the same breath, the clock
I am
face.
listening. I'm just having a drink off mic. So if you don't hear me agreeing, I'm not. I disagree with everything she says.
In the same breath, I think that the clock face sequence that I wasn't gelling with comes after the midnight reveal. So even if we scrap my part one idea,
which we will,
which we will, because apparently Liam hates it. No, I do understand what you're saying. It does take, like, now I'm thinking back on it after hearing that. I think the reveal would still be good, but it does take away, because when they're obviously finding the bodies for the first time, trying to figure out what the mirror situation is, if we've got all of that shown to us, it doesn't really make sense, and it's not going to have the same build as what it does now. So I understand what you're saying, 100%.
I like that being a mystery.
Yeah,
for them to, because that
agree.
feels classic sort of Doctor Who piecing things together.
I agree 100%, and I think you would lose all of that. I just needed more out of that sequence. Then it all falls back on that sequence of I would have liked a bit more context and to have seen point A to B. At the minute, that's all headcanon, isn't it? Like, I can think of how it got to A to B.
Exactly. And I think especially being tied to that entity, the ambiguity of it and the unanswered origins and all of that is a sort of fundamental part of the appeal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely of the first one. And I think of this one because, to be fair, that's something that saved it, that they throw some more questions in the with the ending, which really did a lot for me to be more charitable to it being a sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think thematically it worked. Like, you don't know everything about the situation, you don't know everything about the creature, you don't know everything about this sort of history of the planet and
Yeah, I think it all comes down to, I just wanted more from that.
Yeah. I understand that. It was
like, reflecting back now, I think that's where it stems from. I wanted a bit more. I just wanted a bit more, and maybe a bit more context thrown in. But also, like, it's making me think. It's making me think about the episode. I'm using my imagination, trying to wonder what A to B is, and that's what the episode was supposed to be anyway. So it's doing its job.
I was going to say, I think it's designed to do that, for you to wonder, in the same way when you watch the original, you wonder what it is and how it got there and how it came to be released, and was it always there, or is
that's what made it so exciting.
But I do think a two-parter would work for this. Because it's about the halfway point, the reveal, isn't it?
It is, halfway.
So that's kind of when you actually see it in action. Which is fine. But it does mean you only really get like 20 minutes.
Maybe that,
So, like, I think you could probably stretch it out a bit. As I say, I think it'd be really cliche to do this is midnight.
Midnight? No. Midnight. No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I think the structure that it would be, if we were to make that episode a two-parter and continue it on from that being the beginning, you'd have to have the exact same beginning all the way up to midnight, have the clock face sequence, stretch it out a bit, give us more playtime with the entity, and then have some sort of cliffhanger, bring it, and then you've got part two, resolve that cliffhanger, and have the exact same third act. It's just that second act, just extend that so we can explore the monster a bit more, the entity a bit more. And then again, then that's gonna give me my context that I want. They'll learn more. I'll get more answers that I might have wanted. I'd
And you
see
can
a
even put more
development
questions
as well.
in there as well.
Absolutely, more questions. Make it. But what I will say is we won't see it anymore. Please don't give me any more. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. They took it as far
as they could
without making me personally hate it.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for anybody else, but literally any more of a... Because the best sort of glimpse you get is the first one when Belinda sees it over Alice's shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if this is the first one, does that mean we're going to slowly see more?
We do. I think we do see more of it on the third show, though. When it comes out in the hallway, you know, when they're running towards the end.
Sorry, yeah.
The Doctor then runs back for whatever reason.
It's interesting you say that, though, because I could, and obviously this is maybe kind of playing into what they want.
Yeah.
I could kind of make out a bit of a face or something in the very first.
Yeah. See, I couldn't. Because this is the thing. When I watched it on my phone, definitely couldn't.
Yeah.
Right, and it didn't work. I saw it and was like, oh. When I watched it on live broadcast, the jump scares got me. I knew it was coming as well, but I was like, oh my God. And I just sat there laughing to myself and was like, oh, okay, I needed to watch this on my TV this morning. That's why it was so different. Then the second one happened, got me again. And I was like, Cat, come on. What's going on? Come on. But I still didn't see it. It was still too fast. I have processing issues anyway, so that could also play a lot into it.
But I think also it's like a what do they call it? Like a Rorschach test.
Yeah.
Like a thing of like, what do you see? I can see a face. Oh, well, I see a butterfly. I see my parents shouting at me. Don't read into that.
Yeah.
Like I think you kind of project some stuff onto it.
Yeah, I did just see a shadow.
For me, I could kind of see an outlet of something like a distorted kind of face.
Yeah.
But that third one where they're running and
you can see
and the Doctors, I really love them running out and then him being like, oh, but I've got to see it. I've got to see it. That's such a doctory
thing.
Like
reaction to it.
It was very Tennant-y.
I was the whole episode I was like, this is so Tennant, which is good because not in the whole bring Tennant back. It was good because it did feel like a natural progression from series 4, which originated with Tennant.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that. But Ncuti just, with his acting, just put on a whole nother level of... The writing felt 10, but he kept it 15. And I fully believed that he experienced it.
Yeah, completely. I agree. I completely believed that Ncuti, through his performance, had experienced...
Oh, 100%, yeah.
All of that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, with a new layer to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree the writing felt 10. I think the writing just felt doctory. And I think... The way Russell writes the Doctor, I've just connected that with 10 because that's who he's written for the most.
I was going to say that, because, 9 doesn't feel like 10 at all. How he wrote 9 is not in the same way that he wrote 10.
No, but I think he's
but because he's been writing for 10 since series 2 all the way up, and then the 60s and stuff like that, his writing style is going to be more 10, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Like esque.
I think it's for the same reason that people said that Boom felt like
12th
Doctor and Clara.
100%, yeah.
Because I think that became Moffat's sort of
pinnacle
default
writing style, wasn't it? Yeah.
This is how I write the Doctor.
Doctor Who now, yeah.
This is how I write the Companion.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Which, it's not...
Well,
there are pros and cons to that. But I really liked... I think this might even be my favourite performance from Ncuti.
I was going to say, I saw some comments yesterday and I want to know what your thoughts are on it because I saw them and instantly just shelved them in the noggin and
Shelved them in the noggin.
I shelved them in the noggin and didn't think too hard because I wanted to just have a chat with you about it. So
let's have a chat, babes.
Let's have a chat, babes. Babes.
Sorry, hun.
It's not appropriate to call me babes. Yeah. So coming off you saying it felt doctory.
Yes.
I saw comments saying they feel that Ncuti is the most undoctory Doctor, And people saying that they don't feel that Shooty's
he's-
very
that
doctory.
he's
He's not alien
sort of
enough.
too normal,
He's
quite
too-
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's too human, that kind of thing. How do you feel about that? If you feel that this episode felt doctory,
Yeah.
how do you feel reading those comments? And how do you feel about maybe reflecting on what Shooty has been like and written for compared to this episode then?
I think generally he is a lot more human.
Yeah.
He is a lot more cool and less alien. I think I said last week. No, sorry, it was in Robot Revolution when he's doing all of the come on, let's go. I don't know. There was something about that was like, you're weird. Like,
right.
and I don't think I've got that from him until that point.
Yeah.
Oh, you're charming.
Yeah.
You're charismatic. You're quite exuberant. Like you're very like energetic and sort of have this like zest for life.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting alien.
Yeah.
I'm just getting fun, charismatic, Shooty Gatwa.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that he's
not acting
or he's playing himself or he's a bad actor, because that's
incorrect.
Just categorically not right.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of elements in that. Stuff like the fact he doesn't really have a costume and he's very sort of familiar and friendly with Ruby, and there wasn't really any sort of conflict and stuff. I think this season has done a lot more to show him being a bit more alien, and he's had more moments where I've gone, yeah, I can see the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because I love him in the role, but so much of last season, I couldn't quite connect him with
the Doctor.
As I know the Doctor.
Yeah, that's fair.
And obviously, what that means changes.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people probably felt that when Chris Eccleston came onto the scene and he wasn't speaking in RP and dressed in an Edwardian frock coat and saying "my dear" and all of this, and he's going, "Rose, no!"
Yeah.
Swagger
with his leather jacket.
And his
big
bloody
boots.
big boots stomping about like, "Take me out and come with me."
That's exactly how he sounds and what he says. I remember that moment in Rose.
Yeah. Run. Yeah, like because you've got your core elements of what the character is.
Yep.
And then each actor that comes in brings their own stuff to it.
We are getting a stronger sense of alien identity in this season.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you get, even just in these last 2 episodes, really like substantial flashes of what people call like Doctor moments.
Yeah.
And like the range of the spectrum, whether that's him making a speech and doing this, or just like in this episode, him immediately going into BSL to speak to Alice.
Yeah. And
that little moment where they don't talk.
They literally say to each
they just have a little conversation between the two. And even the fact that that's not subtitled, as an audience, we don't know what that is. We don't know what that conversation is.
I know some sign language, so I managed, from the little that I do know, I did manage to pick up on what they were saying.
Okay. Because I have very little knowledge of BSL.
Right.
I'd love to learn.
And I've always been on the stance of they should teach BSL in schools.
Exactly. Because I'm willing to bet I've met way more people that are hearing impaired.
Yeah.
And use BSL to communicate.
Yeah.
Or at least struggle with lip reading or
things like that. Yeah.
Than I have people that are French.
Yeah. I've never been to France.
Yeah.
I
went once on a school trip.
Yeah.
And was surrounded by 11-year-old English kids refusing to eat snails.
So there we go. That was
only,
wow.
Yeah. And there was a really nice thing there where Belinda sort of apologises for not knowing BSL.
And I also love that it's illegal to be a nurse and not no BSL.
And her sort of like, it should be.
It should be, you're right. And absolutely should.
Yeah, that was a nice beat.
Yeah.
His interaction with Alice, that just feels very doctory to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about it. It's that sort of intangible, you know it when you see it.
Yeah.
Because he's a great performer. I really like the character.
Yeah.
It's just very different to
what we've had
before.
Yeah.
So it's nice when without kind of compromising the character that Russell and Ncuti have created for this incarnation, that they can sort of tie it back to the core elements and the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And you can sort of watch and go, oh, that was very Tennant.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, that was a bit sort of like Tom Bakerish there, that big grin and the, you know, in things like this, when it's two actors
in the same story.
Yeah, that have essentially been like
met the same creature on this level.
Yeah, and you feel like it's the same
character.
It's the same man that was here 400,000 years ago.
Yeah.
It's a real sort of testament to the actor to be able to do that.
Absolutely. But now, from season 2, now I think he has found it, and I think Russell's found his feet as well. I think everyone's found their sweet spot now from beginning of season 2. I think it's just going to develop and develop and develop. We've got Belinda who challenges him as well, and it's bringing out new sides of the Doctor, new sides of character, new reactions. I think the stories feel more alien as well.
Yeah.
So with the stories feeling more alien, the Doctor's going to feel more alien. So I think we've just got a nice natural progression of we found our base now, and now we're running with it. So I think we're only going to see more alien-y Doctor. And I'm excited for that. I think it's what it needs. This season is going to be a lot better with the stories and the characters and stuff, I think, than what we've had. It
feels like the whole production has gone, oh, okay.
Doctor Who.
We know how to do this now.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's really good, yeah.
And like...
I'm enjoying it. This
bodes well for the future, I feel.
Well, this was my initial thought. Yesterday, when I had only seen it the once, and I didn't know how I felt about it being a midnight sequel, my original comment was, regardless of how I feel of this as a midnight sequel, where it falls for me, it's such a strong episode that we've had 3 very strong, very good, very high-ranking episodes.
Yeah, it's on a really good trajectory. Well, speaking of trajectory, we get some hints in this
Earth.
episode to the Earth being
disappearing.
Well, them not knowing what that is, or the human race.
Yeah.
Despite in the opening, the Doctor saying that, you know, the human race is indomitable, and you know that they're around forever,
and because now we're like, oh, okay, so they're not just bouncing off 2025, they're not just bouncing off the Earth. There isn't enough to land on.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? I'm very excited for
I
that.
am actually. You know what? I wasn't really, just because we'd gotten so many like mystery box sort of plot threads for like series arcs and over last series, and you had Ruby, you had Mrs. Flood, you had Susan Twist, you had the one who waits, and you got the boss. And like you know, all of these things. Some of them, I guess, had a payoff. So like going into this, I was like, you know, like, sure, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
With this, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. You've piqued my interest. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And I was going to say, my theory is we've got a little pocket universe.
Okay. Yeah, with your Omega stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I'm feeling pocket universe. So I guess they still could be existing. They're just not where they should be. And it's just not in this timeline, in this universe.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where it's going. You'll be surprised to know.
Yeah, I also don't know where it's going.
No. But you've got a theory.
Yeah, but I have some theories going on. Yeah, you walked in blind, and you're still blind.
Correct. Yeah.
He pushes up his glasses.
I can see. No, yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know where it's going, but I'm
excited for it.
Looking forward to seeing where. I like that the episodes are leading into each other
That's what I mean by the continuity of each episode is really
and that they're
good.
in their costumes from last.
And it's literally just a continuation. I really like that.
Speaking of costumes, how do you feel about the fact?
Do you know, this is my headcanon. Do you want to know what my response is? My headcanon is...
Hold on, let's explain for anybody that doesn't know what we're on about.
Okay.
The fact that the Doctor and Belinda go and get changed in the TARDIS wardrobe.
In the exact space suits that the troops are wearing.
Yeah, which I'm assuming are like military issue.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not specific to this particular branch or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, so they don't know that they're on a military thing, do they?
Base. No, they just walk out and they.
So he's going, oh, this is the year so and so, and usually when he's like, oh, we've landed in the 50s, like. Let's go get changed. We'll wear some 50s fashion.
Well, this is. Do you want to know my headcanon?
Yeah.
And it's purely for this season. I don't know if it would work for any other season. My headcanon for this is, obviously we just had a bit of an error in the episode, possibly. But my headcanon to explain away this is that obviously the TARDIS knows where it's landing. And it's also a time machine.
Right.
So my little headcanon is they walk into the wardrobe and the TARDIS is like, here you go, babes. Here's your costumes for today. Because even
Why is the TARDIS so camp? Here you go, babes.
I'm also whacking them.
Put this on. Slay.
Slay. Yes, queen. Yeah. No.
That's the little TARDIS icon that appears in our thumbnails.
Yeah.
That's
the voice. Yeah.
And that character will develop over this pod.
Yeah, my little headcanon is the TARDIS is like, here you go, babes. Here's your costume for today. Oh my god, you look slay. Let's go. Because also we've got like the colour palette and stuff in Lux with them all wearing like the primary colours.
So you think the TARDIS is like fashion conscious?
Yeah, 100%.
She's like, I
know what you need to wear.
No, honey, that'll clash.
And we already have smart wardrobes, which helps us pick our outfits and tells you if you're pairing the right things with the right thing.
You think
so I think we've got a smart TARDIS here.
Like a Wallace and Gromit like contraption.
Yeah, 100%. And she's like,
do you reckon she dresses them as well? Like,
yeah.
Like why they stand there with their arms out and
she's
like
Form, this is what you should wear today. You look slay, let's go. There might even be a bit where he can get his manicure because he's got his Gallifreyan nails.
His little mani-pedi.
A little accessories department so he can choose his rings.
Nice.
That's my headcanon. The TARDIS was like, okay, they need to wear this. They put on that and they're on their way.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Sure. It's not a real criticism. It's not a real criticism. It's just something a bit funny.
Yeah. So that's my thought on it.
But although she probably should have given them helmets, just on the off chance that they walked out and weren't too unoccupied right in front of them.
Yeah, but there's going to be more. If you saw the size of the troop, you can assume that they're going to have spares anyway. So come on. She can't do everything.
Yeah.
She made them look like that. She can't then provide safety gear as well.
She squeezed Shooty's ass into that spacesuit.
I also love how like self-aware the episode was though, when Shooty was like, I'll even let your mum whistle at my behind or something.
Yeah,
and then he rocks out wearing that, where his bum looks juicy as anything.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to seeing where things are going.
Yeah. Let's talk story.
Let's go.
Let's go. When we talk about story, can we start at the end?
That's how. Where else would you start?
I really, really thought it was a very clever, intriguing way to end the episode. And there's lots of different readings that I've seen people have as well of the episode.
I've not really seen other people's, so I'm interested to hear, because I can give you mine.
Yeah. How do you feel about the ending? And then I'll talk about mine and then others that I've seen.
So I really liked it.
Good.
Yeah, as I say, I think it that did a lot for me to be more charitable to the idea of it being a midnight sequel.
Yeah.
I should say, I do feel like I don't want another one of these now.
No.
I don't want a trilogy. I don't want a trilogy.
No. It needed to be left open, though.
Yeah, the sort of open-endedness.
Yeah, just like the first one.
Exactly. Not really answering the questions. We don't know what it is. We don't really know what it looks like. We got a sort of guess.
Yeah.
But the thing that stuck out to me, rather than the actual ending of the, I thought I saw something behind you.
Mhm.
So I don't think it was on Belinda.
Good, because neither do I.
I don't think it was on Belinda. I
So-
think it's everybody going, well, it's not on me, and her going,
Okay.
it must be on me.
Okay, so it is still on Alice
Yeah.
because we see 4 occupants out of 6 in the lift, but there's only 3 of them
Yeah,
there.
there's only the
So
3 of them. Yeah,
it's definitely on. So those 3 in the escape pod, entities in there, it's free, it's achieved its motive, okay?
Mhm.
But when you think of those who are left behind, it needs to get rid of its threat. The last thing it needs is the Doctor, number 1 threat, Shia, who is the second threat,
Yeah.
and Belinda, who is a part of the Doctor, so she's a threat.
Yeah.
Mo isn't really seen as a threat.
Yeah.
It's just another troop soldier. Not insignificant, but insignificant in this entity's eyes, right? So what's it going to do? It's going to get rid of its 3 threats. So what I think it did is it knew that it needed to work on and use that paranoia that it's already set up to get rid of it. So it did the slam in the shuttle or whatever to make them fall over and go, oh my god, it's here.
Yeah.
Because they don't know that it's still attached to Alice. So it then is still able to whisper to Belinda to make her believe that it's on her, but it's not.
Or is she actually hearing those whispers? Is it just the paranoia?
Well,
and
the issue is, I would believe that she's not hearing the whispers if we didn't have it audible.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that...
No, but again, it's the show don't tell. Because she's already acting her ass off anyway.
Yeah.
If we
she's really good.
She's really good. So if we just had that moment when she says like I can hear it or whatever, like just a line of dialogue instead of the whispers, I'd believe that it was in her head.
But I think there's a certain amount of just filmmaking logic there as well that for it to be non-diegetic.
Yeah.
And just because we're hearing it doesn't necessarily mean
it's in.
Yeah, we could be in her head for that moment there. Do you know what I mean?
But then that's very playing with
it
form
is.
there.
It is, but
either way, she hears it or she thinks she hears it.
Yeah.
There's a whisper that occurs regardless of where it is.
Yeah.
So then it knows, okay, it hopes they kill Belinda, that's 1 threat down. It's going to jump onto whoever kills Belinda and hoping that it's the same sequence of whoever keeps killing it until all of them are out.
Yeah.
Hopefully leaving Mo last. That would be the best result for it. So we have the sacrifice from Shia. Lovely, powerful bit at the end. Could have done without the voiceover. That's me being nitpicky. I'm not mad at it. It was just a bit cheesy, but a bit. I guess you can.
No, it was cheesy.
Yeah, you can. I guess it just kind of ends her arc, but I'm not angry at it at the same time. So she then goes, sacrifices herself, and believes that she's taken the entity with it. Obviously, I don't think it was ever there anyway.
No.
So then the Doctor's so focused with sorting out Belinda. I don't believe that there was ever 2 entities.
No.
I always felt like it was just one. And it escaped. And it further plays on the paranoia with Mo when that other trooper on the base thinks she sees something behind it.
Yeah.
Because it's there on the base, so it makes sense to start bringing everyone into it for it to do whatever it needs to do.
Right.
There to get off the base into whatever planet.
So do you think that was actually the entity's sort of influence?
Yeah,
doing that?
Because we've got a little time jump there, so it wouldn't be out of the question for things to be already happening on that base.
So
it's still attached to Alice.
So it is attached to Alice, and she's then gone. But you think it's still got influence over?
But it's still on. She's not gone, because there's not that much of a time jump. They're just on the surface. They're just not down into the mining unit, should we say?
So I took it pretty much the same as you did.
Yeah.
Especially with it knowing that the Doctor's its main threat.
Yeah.
So making Belinda think that it's on her.
Yeah.
Takes him off his game.
Yeah.
Especially when she's been shot, his main focus is
Belinda.
Get her back, make sure she's okay, get her away, and that he doesn't think to sort of check basically.
Yeah. He thinks that the entity's gone with, because it's a pure reflection and mirror of what he's seen before. He saw the hostess get rid of the entity. He's now watched the troop leader get rid of the entity. It's not out of the question.
Which is really interesting from the perspective of the entity itself.
Well, it's learning. It
having all of that time to learn and go in, they'll think if they sacrifice themselves, they can get rid of me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make them think
do that
they've
again.
done that.
Yeah.
And then I can stay hidden in the shadows.
Yeah. And this is why I loved the ending. So I was like, it is so clever.
It came back round. The story lost me a bit in the second act.
Yeah.
And then literally as soon as they
start running again,
and it's the
from
four
there
of them in the corridor and all of that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Really, really good. I don't think the entity's having an influence over Mo or that other trooper at the end. I think that's not coincidence, but I think...
like when Donna goes, molto bene, and it goes, don't. Just don't.
Yeah, like I think... Yeah.
When
like,
she repeats him.
I think it's the kind of thing, obviously the troopers known about all of this stuff and knows that there's something there or has been there.
It's just the paranoia and
the paranoia,
effect.
yeah. And I think that's the effect, that it's not actually controlling that, but it's planted that seed of doubt and paranoia in their heads,
and it's just
and that's then going to stay with them.
Okay.
And the implication there is that Mo's going to assume that she's got it, and then is probably going to have to. Is probably then going to like.
I didn't think of that.
That's my interpretation of it.
Ooh, I like yours better.
I think it's. I agree. I think it's still with Alice.
Yeah, 100%.
And is going to continue to probably pick off the rest of the crew.
Yeah.
And then wherever they get to, it's quite dark. She says that she's got a daughter. Like, is it that all of that? But that was my interpretation of it. So some people think that there's more than one entity.
So because of the galvanic ray causing the bigeneration.
In the Google,
sorry, jumped.
Yeah, the galvanic beam.
And then the galvanic radiation. They
splitting into
two entities.
I'm following.
So people are thinking one was attached to Alice, and then there was one that was actually on Mo, but whispered in Belinda's ear to make them think it was Belinda.
Right.
To still get rid of those three, to jump into the well, distract Belinda,
but to
Doctor,
stick on Mo, take out the three threats. Yeah.
Get Mo back onto the base, and now there's two on the base. But I don't believe that. I don't agree with that one. I still think it was the same entity.
It's a nice theory.
Yeah, it's fine, but I don't think that was the intention.
No. For me, it kind of robs it a little bit if there's more than one of them.
Well, yeah, because...
Like, I like the idea of it being this
just one entity, this one soul thing.
Intangible, like, unidentifiable, impossible thing.
Because...
And if there's two unidentifiable, impossible things...
You've got the no-things.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because it felt quite similar to Wobbly Yonder in its tone.
Yeah, I saw people disagree that it should have been a Midnight sequel, but think it should have been a Not Things sequel.
Like a Wobbly
Yonder.
Yeah.
But then, I also saw a theory which I quite liked. Don't necessarily agree with it, but I like where it's going. They linked the Not Things in Wobbly Yonder as the third part of the entity.
Evolves into that.
Midnight part 2, and then the Not Things as part 3, and that's a display, I guess, a display of how it's intangible, it's this consciousness, and it lasts until the end of the universe.
And it's like grown a sort of physical manifestation.
And this is its extension of that, which I quite like.
Interesting.
I didn't necessarily agree with it, but I like that.
It's a fun headcanon.
It is.
It's a fun little theory.
That's fun.
Yeah. Speaking of the mimicking, how did you feel about the fact that didn't feature in this?
It didn't bother me because, again, this entity's been here for 400,000 years. I can fully agree that it's developed from the mimicking. And if it's had other situations and experiences prior to this episode, which if it's learning off of different behaviours from a variety of different situations, I can fully agree with it. It's not in the same situation where it's just a cluster of them on a bus. It's a fully fledged...
Yeah.
It's a different situation, so it's got a different set of skills that it draws upon.
the reason I ask about the mimicking is
Yeah,
because
sure.
when the rumours were going about it being a Midnight sequel, and this was obviously the one with Rose Ayling-Ellis in it, a deaf actress,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, well, they're going to do something with,
Language.
yeah, with
And
talking
words and
and
talking.
her not being able to hear the mimicking, so maybe that's why it doesn't work on her and she's the last one.
Yeah.
And I was
But again, the
pleasantly...
character wasn't written
yeah,
for a deaf
yeah,
actress,
and
was
she
it?
obviously wasn't written as being deaf.
Yeah.
But like you wouldn't tell.
No.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
In the least like patronising way of like, oh, she was written like any other character. Obviously, yes, good. But BSL and the language and the non-hearing and all of that sort of stuff just seamlessly integrated into the character, into the plot, into all of that. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised that wasn't the route they took with it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, like you say, it runs the risk of just doing the same thing as Midnight.
Yeah, and it was smart. That I think the thing that saved it, I think if it was an intentional Midnight sequel, it would have been ruined. I think the fact that it was written not to be a Midnight sequel, it was similar, and then they pulled it in.
Yeah,
was the savior of it.
I am wondering what the reception would have been if it were just its own story.
See, this is the thing. When I watched it on my second rewatch, I thought as an episode, it's probably an 8.5 out of 10. As a Midnight sequel, I was landing somewhere around the 6.5, 7.
Mm-hmm.
But then that doesn't feel fair to the episode because it was so good as an episode. But then when you think of Midnight, what came before, so you've got to be critical about the content of it and the development thereupon. This is why I'm flip-flopping so much, because it was such a strong episode. It was 8.5, like I loved it. There were just things that needed to be reworked for me. I think some of the characters needed work. Like, that's the whole reason, not the whole reason, but a big portion of the reason why Midnight was so good was all of the character work.
But also I think that comes as a result of it being one set.
Yeah.
With this cast, there's not big action sequences. You've not got people thrown around. You've not got chases.
Fair. It's a very different structure to what the original was in. That's fair.
For me, it's kind of comparable to the jump from Blink to Time of Angels, Flesh and Stone, especially with them adding sort of new lore and abilities
and Angels, 100%.
And that it was kind of taking them out of a sort of not domestic, but fairly mundane sort of setting, and then going now them, but in space, and doing a kind of sci-fi.
But again, that was
horror.
A two-parter, and this should have been a two-parter as well.
Yeah, I think you could have. I think you definitely could have made this a two-parter.
Yeah, to fully explore it like they had done previous.
Yeah, and I think that's how you could have the same amount of sort of character work.
Yeah.
That Midnight had.
That's fair.
And build on that paranoia.
Really take your time with it.
Yeah.
And within building, having time to build in that paranoia, your character work's gonna just come out of that anyway, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and then you get more interesting ways to die and how it can use its ability and power and things like that. So all of that just comes in with the time, doesn't it? And a bit of reworking.
Yeah. I think it'd be an interesting one to kind of flesh out a bit.
Yeah.
So
but see, and this is why I still don't fully know what I could give it ranking wise and where I feel with it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's a good story. The setup and suspense at the beginning and all of that build, perfect. Second act just needed a bit of development for me. Third act and resolution, perfect.
I think
so. I don't know where I feel. I don't know how I feel.
I've been sort of to and froing with it.
Yeah.
When I finished it last night, I sort of went, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't.
But as a
make me go, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, genuinely over the course of this discussion, I'm like, no, it was really good.
It was.
And I think it's going to be one I'll watch a couple more times.
I think I need to watch it a few more times. It will keep growing on me.
Yeah, because like my feeling when I finished it was like a 7.
Okay, that's what I predicted from you. By
really?
The way, a 7. Yeah.
Interesting. But having talked about it and thought about it a bit more, I know that it's better than a 7.
Yeah.
Like, rationally,
Well,
I know that it's a better story than that,
Well,
even with the Midnight Things.
Exactly, this is what I mean, because when I say, like, I think as a sequel, that it's Midnight Sequel, it's like a 6.57, but then I'm like, but that episode isn't deserving of a 7.
Yeah.
It deserves to be higher.
Well, I'm thinking, because I gave Robot Revolution a 7.
Yeah, and it's better than Robot.
Way better than
way
that.
better than Robots.
But equally, I don't think it's as good as Lux last week.
It's not as good.
Which I gave a 9.
Not, yeah.
So I'm feeling like it's an 8.
An 8. I think an 8.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And that's subject to change.
Yeah.
Because as I say, it's only the first watch. Yeah. But
8.5 for me, I think.
Maybe we'll revisit this.
Revisit it next week.
Next week.
And see where we feel.
Yeah. Something we've not mentioned.
Oh, you're gonna say Mrs. Flood.
I wasn't, but we'll get to that. So I was going to say, other than the throwing sequence, that it's really well directed. Not to say that the throwing sequence was bad.
No, it wasn't bad. I just wish it was more.
Yeah, it was well directed, but I think
it had limitations.
Yeah, but the rest of it, gorgeous.
Yeah,
Amanda
absolutely.
Brockley again, last week after Lux, and then coming in and doing this.
Mm-hmm. 2 very different tones, 2 very different vibes. Smashed both of them.
Just really, really good. The cinematography of them landing and walking across that landscape. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then all of the industrial sort of like murky. It had such as they were sort of exploring and seeing the dead bodies.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so Alien.
Yeah.
I don't mean Alien the word, I mean Alien the film.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw people say that it felt that, because I've never seen Alien.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I've never seen
it. So good.
But I saw a lot of people say it felt Alien.
Felt very Alien, very like The Thing.
Yeah. Again, I haven't seen it.
Again, banger.
Right.
Wobbly Yonder's quite The Thing, I'd say.
Okay. And I love that. That's my 9.5.
Yeah, but that proper like sci-fi horror, the base under siege thing, but also not just there's a monster coming to get you, just really delving into the twisted psychology and like really playing mind games and all of that. Yeah, I thought it was great, and it's really well communicated with the visual language of it.
Yeah.
Has she directed any more for this season, or is that her block done?
I don't know.
No, so she's not she's only done 2 this season.
Mm-hmm.
Please bring her back.
Yeah.
Please
Season 3,
bring her back.
Yeah.
Like, she's great.
Yeah.
Similarly, Charmer Angel Wolfell, bring her back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, no, I think I really liked this.
Yeah.
But it's odd that I didn't get that straight away.
Yeah. This one is a slow burner.
Yeah.
The more you process it, the more you're like, no, that was actually really good. And the more I talk about it, I'm like, no, I really like it. I love it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But as I say, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Mrs. Flood, quickly.
I'm just getting a bit stale. The only thing that saved the Mrs. Flood section for me is her little line of, yes, the Vindicator, exactly what I expected or hoped for, or something like that. So clearly she's kind of sewing pieces together. She predicted this would happen. Is she putting the Doctor in situations? Like, I don't know. That it intrigued me. But also, if I would have liked that more, and that would have been more hard hitting if I didn't see her in the Robot Revolution and I didn't see her in Lux.
Yeah, I think you can play about with the nature of the cameos.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It just feels so much like Susan Triad.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
And like, I think you can just have a brief, especially for this, because I feel like tonally,
but also
it felt like an obligation.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of took away from the like, can you imagine if we didn't have that scene?
Yeah.
And it went straight from the Doctor and Belinda in the TARDIS
to Mo walking.
Mo coming out and having that scene with the Trooper.
It would have been better.
Like,
I don't disagree. Like, because that line of dialogue is what saved it for me, and there's no reason why it couldn't come in the next episode.
Her talking about the Vindicator was the first point where I went, oh, she's talking about like theories and science and stuff. Oh God, is she the Rani?
She is the Rani. This is what I mean. Like, she knows the Doctor. If she's predicting stuff, what the Doctor's doing, because she knows what he's like,
Like
extra,
hypotheses,
and then starting talking like we're slowly seeing her character bleed through.
It's
the
first time.
No, Liam's getting scared.
It's the first time I felt a little bit less confident in our bet.
Ha 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 ha! I can't wait.
But we shall see.
Win.
We shall see, because that could be any number of things. But it was a fleeting moment of
dread.
Oh, is she? No.
I can't wait to win.
But yeah, on that note,
yeah,
we should probably wrap up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll come back next week and do a quick
10-minute.
Yeah, quick little segment of how we feel 1 week on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what have we got coming up next week, little cat?
Lucky Day.
Lucky Day indeed.
Yeah. Which I think could be a nice and different episode. Obviously, it's Dr. Light. We'll see Ruby again, see what progressions she's had. I'm interested to see the whole Conrad situation.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see how that plays
pretty
out.
Interested in this one.
I'm intrigued.
I know this is people's like least anticipated one because it's like the
why
Dr.
are you bringing
Light,
back Ruby?
and we're bringing back Ruby, and they didn't really care for her and all that.
Yes.
I'm
intrigued. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And we get a proper monster alien design as well, like a proper, and I'm very excited for it.
I'm also down for just like a cool, like little conspiracy thriller kind of.
You know, I love my conspiracy theories. Absolutely. I think it's going to set up for the finale as well because we've got Unit and Ruby.
Yeah, exactly.
All of that. So I think it will play a part in setting up the finale and possibly set up for Sea Devils.
The spin-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a good run so far.
I know. I'm hopeful. I really am.
For me, a 7, a 9, and an 8.
Yeah.
Which it's looking pretty
really
solid
good,
so far. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing's dipped below an 8 for me yet.
Nice.
So. Yeah.
Well, let's see what next week brings.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we'll get stuck in. Where can they find you, little cat?
They can find me on Twitter at simplyKT_XO. And where can they find you?
I'll tell you where they can find me. They can find me on Twitter also at Sudden Biscuit, and also on YouTube for the Sudden Biscuit channel, which you may very well be watching this on.
Yes.
Also, speaking of YouTube, last week's episode has not yet hit 500 views.
So no Mr. Ring-a-Ding yet.
So no Mr. Ring-a-Ding cosplay from Cat.
No.
But I'm saying if we can get to 500 by end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we can get to 500 views by the end of the season, the bet still stands, and Kat will be doing a Ring-a-Ding cosplay. So share it with your friends.
Yeah.
Share it with your nan.
Do all the good stuff.
Yeah, and we'll get her painted blue. And
oh yay, that's gonna be fun.
And,
I didn't say I'd paint blue.
What? We're going full hog, man.
No.
Give the people what they want.
Oh god.
But yeah, we'll wrap up there. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
For a lucky day.
For a lucky day. Bye.
Bye.